All right, let's dive right in. We're talking about the world of blockchain security, a place where fortunes can literally be made or lost in the blink of an eye. But there's a new player on the field, a really surprising one: large language models. Yeah, the same AI that can write an email for you is now guarding billions of dollars. So, how on earth did we get here?
And I'm not exaggerating here. This is the reality of blockchain. A single, tiny mistake, one bad line of code can set off a chain reaction that vaporizes millions of dollars. The stakes are just unbelievably high.
So what's at the center of all this risk? It's something called a smart contract. Now, don't think of a paper document. Think of it more like a digital vending machine or maybe a robot banker. It's just code that automatically moves valuable assets around based on rules, with no human in the middle. And that's what makes it so powerful and also so incredibly dangerous.
And that really brings us to the heart of the matter, the blockchain's big, high-stakes flaw. The very thing that makes it so revolutionary, the fact that it's automated and you can't reverse things, is also its greatest weakness.
You see, because these contracts just run on their own, there is no undo button. A bug isn't just a minor glitch, it's a wide-open door for hackers. Once a flawed contract is live on the blockchain, it's basically a ticking time bomb, just waiting for someone to find that one mistake.
But what if you could have a security guard that never sleeps, who's read every single technical manual ever written and can scan millions of lines of code in a few seconds? Well, this is where our story takes a really interesting turn. Enter large language models.
LLMs have this really unique set of skills that are almost perfectly designed for this job. They don't just read code, they actually understand the logic behind it. They can comb through huge transaction histories to spot weird patterns. And maybe the most important part, they learn. Every new threat they see makes them smarter for the next one.
And that's the real game changer here. It's like moving from human-scale security to something, well, superhuman. You've suddenly got an expert that can be everywhere at once, checking everything all the time.
So, how does this actually play out in the real world? Well, the first big job for these LLMs is to act as code detectives, proactively sniffing out flaws before they can ever do any damage. And the process is actually pretty straightforward. First, the LLM just reads all of the contract's code. Then it compares that code against its massive knowledge base of every known hack and vulnerability and flags anything that looks sketchy. But here's the best part. It doesn't just say, hey, there's a problem. It actually tells developers how to fix it.
And believe me, we are not talking about simple typos. These AIs are finding some of the most infamous and destructive bugs out there. Things like reentrancy attacks. That's where a hacker can trick a contract into letting them withdraw money over and over again. Or integer overflows, a tiny math error that can lead to huge losses. These are the exact kinds of flaws that have led to some of the biggest crypto heists in history.
And this isn't just theory, it's already happening. There are tools out there right now like SOCchecker that are being used to scan code for these kinds of problems before they go live. And others, like SmartAuditFlow, use AI to make sure the contracts not only run safely, but also run reliably.
Okay, so the code is safe before it's even launched. That's a huge step. But what happens once it's out in the wild, processing millions of transactions? Well, this is the next job for our AI guardians. They become tireless transaction watchdogs.
I mean, just try to imagine the scale of this challenge. You're trying to find one single fraudulent transaction buried in a mountain of millions of legitimate ones, and you have to do it every single day. A human team just can't keep up. It's impossible.
But an AI can. Tools like GPTLENS do exactly this. It's constantly watching the entire network, learning what normal behavior looks like so it can immediately spot anything that's out of place. It flags fraud attempts, finds weird patterns, and even sorts the threats by how serious they are so the human experts know exactly where to focus their attention.
So when you put these two rules together, the code detective and the transaction watchdog, what you get is something pretty transformative. You get trust and accuracy, but automated, and at a scale we've just never seen before.
We are really looking at a fundamental shift here. We're moving away from the old way of doing things, which was manual, slow, and always a step behind, to something that's automated, lightning fast, and proactive. Instead of just cleaning up the mess after a hack, these AIs can actually predict and prevent them from happening. They don't replace the human experts, they just give them superpowers.
At the end of the day, what this is really all about is scalability.
We're letting the AI do the heavy lifting, all that tedious data analysis, which frees up the human experts to focus on strategy and solving the really complex problems. You know, the stuff that people are best at.
So let's just quickly recap. We've basically seen LLMs step up as guardians in 4 key areas. First, finding flaws in the code itself. Second, spotting fraudulent transactions in real time. Third, making sure contracts run smoothly. And fourth, cutting down on all the noise and false alarms. These are really the 4 pillars of this new AI-powered security.
And all of this leaves us with one big question to think about. As our digital world gets more and more complex and the threats get more and more sophisticated, is AI no longer just another tool, but maybe our most essential ally in this fight? It's definitely something to chew on.